I love that idea of not getting too impressed with your own equations as a physicist and actually continuing to listen to the world and think about, well, how does the world actually work, and how can we make a physics that expresses that?
Yeah, it's difficult. That's a very difficult discipline. And this is where, for example, my training in the mountains comes into play. In order to survive at high altitudes, particularly without oxygen, one needs to be a very disciplined, rigorous thinker. And so I spent a lot of time in Tibetan monasteries, disciplining my thinking not to get distracted if there is an avalanche, there's a storm. I still can put one foot in front of the other and be focused. And in this way, then it bears fruit, because now I can discipline myself in my thinking and understand my own motivation, unpick the motivations that I can feel bubbling to the surface as I am studying physics. Am I now looking at this system with a secret desire that I would like my physics to have a symmetry or have an asymmetry? And so it's this examination of the scientist's convictions that is so useful for science. We all have convictions and beliefs. We have a belief system that shapes our world. Now, we cannot get rid of our convictions, but we can state them together with the result. So if I, as a scientist, produce a result and say, okay, this result is valid, and I developed it listing all of the assumptions that went into the result, and even my desire for a symmetric physics can come in there, so that the consumer of the science, they look at the result and they are given all the list of assumptions that the scientist, to the best of their abilities, was able to be aware of. The more assumptions that we carry, that we are aware of, the more helpful the final product will be, because you as a consumer will come and look at it and will be able to form also the consumer's own informed decision of the result in the context of all the assumptions that the scientists had. And the assumptions that we are not aware of as scientists, those are the most important ones to state and put forward, because they can be secretly motivating us without our perception, without us being aware.
It's so interesting you bring that up, because I was going to ask you about the role of assumptions in physics, because often we think of physics as being the ultimate objective, unbiased field. But yeah, actually, do you think that there are unspoken or unacknowledged even assumptions and biases that are framing all of that from the beginning?
Yeah. I think ultimately there is no such thing as being unbiased. Our discipline, the field of physics and science, we are rather taken with the idea that we can make statements that don't go with an assumption. And this is very beautiful, as if the world existed outside of ourselves. Nonetheless, we only have ever observed the world from the inside of a human body. That's very difficult to argue with. Of course, we know that the world is there even if we're not here, but we are inside of the human body. And so there's a large number of assumptions, even starting with being a healthy brain and completely well slept, these kinds of assumptions. But there are a large number of assumptions that go with each scientist. We may believe that in mainstream physics, we can state a clean argument which is independent of the assumptions. I don't believe in such arguments, though. That's the field of mathematics. In mathematics, you can have an absolute truth, absolute statements. In physics, in reality, it's not like that. So, for example, in quantum mechanics, if we want to be so independent of the outside of the context, independent of the assumptions, quantum mechanics is over there saying, no, hang on, I make a measurement when I interact with the body, the elements, the particle, and without interacting with the particle by sending a photon, I'm not able to perceive it.
So even things like there's a physical world out there separate from us, or the laws of physics explain everything that happens in the universe, we should acknowledge these assumptions and be aware of when we're relying on them.
Yes, I think so. Now we're talking about very disciplined thinkers, because it's very difficult to accept that we are limited to be inside of our body to perceive the world. And you mentioned something, the second part that was very interesting. I wanted to...
Oh, yeah, the idea that the laws of physics explain everything that happens in the universe.
Yeah, well, if that would be very beautiful. I would love for that to be true, because then we would understand the universe and we could end physics and go to the beach.